So we all know the rumors. LeBron James is reportedly closing in on a massive behind-the-scenes documentary deal with ESPN. His camp is already working overtime to shoot down any comparisons to Michael Jordan's legendary docuseries, The Last Dance. Even LeBron's business partner, Maverick Carter, got involved, posting online that LeBron doesn't even know when his final season will be. A post the self-proclaimed king quickly shared to his own timeline. And honestly, of course, they are pushing back. Jordan actually went out on top and won his last dance. Even if LeBron somehow grabs another ring late in his career with a team like the 76ers, he is just going to be a passenger, a bus rider coasting as the third or fourth option. Because nobody remembers Michael Jordan riding anyone's coattails to get his final championship ring. Look, I already saved ESPN and LeBron's camp the trouble. I started making my own series on his final years a long time ago. I dug those videos up recently after we officially crossed the 100,000 subscriber milestone. So tonight, we are looking back at those uploads and some of our biggest hits that brought in the massive audience to get us to 100,000. Let's take a look back at the last 3 years and revisit some of the most impactful content on this channel. If you missed them, stick around because I will be guiding you through each segment. And we are starting with the video that put us on the map, The Last Choke. June 26th, 2003. David Stern walked up to the podium at Madison Square Garden and made the call that altered the course of NBA history forever. The Cleveland Cavaliers select LeBron James, and for nearly 20 years since that moment, he has waged a non-stop war on the NBA. He pioneered the modern superteam era, completely wrecking the Paris' competitive balance of the league while taking flopping to shameless heights, begging referees to save him in one intense playoff series after another. But his true calling card over this legendary career has been shrinking to its smallest whenever the spotlight got too bright. Like with many of the game's icons, we are often left in total disbelief, wondering if what we just saw actually happened. And after his latest predictable meltdown against the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, it was LeBron's turn to take the mic and contemplate if after 20 years of spectacular failures, this was finally the end of the road. I have got a lot to think about, honestly. Just for me personally, moving forward with this game, I have a lot to think about. The end of the line, the final curtain, the last choke. LeBron has always been incredibly gifted at crumbling when the stakes are highest. This trend started early in his career, way back in the 2006-2007 season. In only his fourth year in the league, LeBron made the first of 10 finals appearances, and he did not disappoint. The media and his fans always give him a pass for this sweep, blaming his youth and a weak roster. But they ignore how tight these games really were. Cleveland actually played elite defense that entire playoff run, holding the powerhouse Spurs to 86 points per game on 44% shooting throughout the series. 2 of those matchups came down to a single possession. Yeah, the Cavaliers got swept because their young leader completely vanished when it mattered. LeBron averaged just 22 points in the 4-game sweep on a miserable 35% shooting. Fast forward to the 2008-2009 season. LeBron captured his very first MVP trophy while leading Cleveland to a massive 66-16 record, the absolute best in the league. They absolutely steamrolled the competition in the early rounds, sweeping both the Detroit Pistons and the Atlanta Hawks. A historic matchup with Kobe Bryant, the actual best player on the planet at the time, and the media's hand-picked king LeBron James seemed almost guaranteed to happen. The only obstacle standing in his path was an Orlando Magic squad led by a young 23-year-old Dwight Howard. We all know how that story ended. Kobe claimed his 4th ring after blowing past Orlando 4-1 in the finals. LeBron returned the following year, seeking revenge in the 2009-2010 season. He successfully defended his regular season MVP title and pushed the Cavs to the top record in basketball yet again. After a gentleman's sweep of Chicago in round 1, he ran directly into the Boston Celtics in the semifinals. Immediately, Cleveland found themselves in an absolute dogfight. The series was tied 2-2, and facing a crucial Game 5 at home, LeBron straight up quit. He played 41 minutes, scoring just 15 points on a brutal 3 of 14 shooting. Cleveland got absolutely dismantled on their own floor, pushing them right to the brink of elimination in Game 6. And of course, we all know how that ended, with Kobe Bryant winning his 5th championship after beating the Celtics in 7. But that series broke LeBron James, and in turn, he would go on to break the entire league. A back-to-back league MVP, falsely hyped by many as the best player in the world, literally chose to get on his knees and crawl to Dwayne Wade's team. This fall, I am going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat. 2 top 5 players in the game, joining forces in their prime in a weekend conference, who then recruited Chris Bosh. At the time, Bosh had spent 7 years in Toronto, making 6 All-Star appearances while averaging a dominant 20 points and 10 rebounds per game. That squad was so unfairly stacked, so unbeatable. A ringless king felt so overconfident that he proclaimed they would win not just one championship, but not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. What followed the next year in the 2011 NBA Finals was an absolute masterclass in choking. LeBron's ultimate choke job, his absolute masterpiece of a meltdown. The Heat cruised through the East with a 12-3 record, taking a 2-1 finals lead against an underdog Dallas Mavericks team with only one All-Star. Poised to take a stranglehold on the series and move one step closer to his first NBA title, LeBron completely froze up, playing 45 minutes and scoring only 8 points on a tragic 3 of 11 shooting, including 0 points in the fourth quarter of a game that was tied 82-81 with 30 seconds left. They went from the verge of a commanding 3-1 series lead to not winning another single game. Miami lost the series 4-2. LeBron was the third leading scorer on his own team and 5th overall in the series, a reigning back-to-back MVP in his 8th year. Stenny Gort outscored and outshot by a 33-year-old Jason Terry. 17 points per game looks bad enough on its own, but it was nothing compared to his fourth quarter disappearing act, scoring just 18 points total across all 6 games. Yet, even that looks decent compared to how he performed in actual clutch moments. In the final 5 minutes of close games, with the score within 5 points, LeBron scored exactly 0 points. Zero. He finally broke through the championship ceiling with those unbeatable super teams. But 2 years later, LeBron was right back to his old ways. Humiliated once again in the NBA Finals. Blown off the floor by the San Antonio Spurs in 5 games. That marked the end of his Miami era, 5 rings short of his promise. So he headed back to Cleveland to assemble a shiny new super team, desperate to keep chasing those championship rings. Everything seemed to be going according to script as the self-proclaimed king hit the game-winning shot in Game 7 against the Warriors. Wait, no, he didn't. Actually, that was Kyrie Irving. But LeBron did grab his 3rd ring, and it was all for Cleveland. He screamed that it was for Cleveland, but was it really? That was the moment that supposedly made him the greatest ever. The window looked wide open for his new squad, until Kevin Durant and Steph Curry slammed it shut, using the exact same super team playbook LeBron had created years before. So, it was time to look for another escape. He found it in LA, or rather, in Orlando, winning the flukiest ring ever inside the Disney bubble, riding the coattails of Anthony Davis, who absolutely dominated that postseason in scoring while playing lockdown, elite defense. Then, in year 20 at the age of 38, everything seemed to line up one last time. One more magical, gifted run for the king, going from completely out of the postseason picture with 2 weeks left to completely steamrolling their way into the Western Conference Finals, thanks to Anthony Davis and huge nights from a handful of Lakers role players. The Lakers had everything they could have wanted in this matchup. Anthony Davis was playing elite, league-best defense while putting up huge numbers, averaging 27 points and 14 rebounds a game. Austin Reeves, contributing 21 points a game on 55% shooting. And Rui Hachimura came off the bench to add great defense of his own, chipping in 15 points per game on 53% shooting. The Lakers were squarely in every single matchup of this series, as all 4 games were squarely in every single matchup, decided by a single possession late in the fourth. Yet, with the ball in his hands, LeBron struggled, clanking a game-tying 3-pointer with 45 seconds left in Game 1, blowing a routine layup that would have cut the deficit to 2 with 30 seconds left in Game 2, followed by that bizarre, uncalled travel. And who can forget that brutal brick and air ball that missed everything when he had a chance to tie Game 4 with under 30 seconds left? Still, with only 4 seconds remaining, and LA trailing by 2, LeBron had one final shot to save the season. He drove hard inside, stopped, and rose up for the shot. Blocked. Gets it back. It is over. It is over. Throughout the series, LeBron shot a brutal 7 for 23, just 30% in the fourth quarter. It hurts, especially since the Nuggets won the series by a total of only 24 points. If only the Lakers had a reliable go-to closer in the clutch. With his future suddenly up in the air, we have to wonder if this was really the end of the road for LeBron in the league. Or will he recruit another superstar or two to build one more super team this offseason? If this really was his final act, he went out doing what he does best, keeping us all completely captivated. Up next, we are breaking down LeBron's late-game failure in the 2023 Western Conference Finals and comparing it to Michael Jordan's legendary 1998 walk-off in Game 6. This is the last shot. After this latest agonizing chapter in the history of LeBron James's playoff struggles, He took the podium and openly wondered if he had officially played his very last game on an NBA floor. He admitted he had a lot to think about personally, especially when it came to his future with the game of basketball. For his entire career, people have compared him to that ghost in Chicago who wore number 23, with almost every prominent analyst tripping over themselves to make a flawed, greatest of all time comparison. To many, LeBron James is number 2, and Michael Jordan is the clear number 1. Yet, when you really study LeBron's game, he simply does so much more on the court, and does it at a higher level than Jordan ever did. But right now, you cannot ignore the massive contrast between how Michael Jordan ended his run in Chicago and how LeBron's career might have just wrapped up in Los Angeles. It has been over 25 years since rumors and endless speculation swirled around the fate of the Chicago Bulls heading into that fateful offseason. But before any of that, they still had to finish off the 1998 NBA Finals. The worn-out Bulls limped into that championship series after being pushed to the brink by the Indiana Pacers, who dragged them through a brutal 7-game Eastern Conference Finals in one of Jordan's toughest playoff series ever. Waiting for them in the finals was a dominant Utah Jazz team with the league's best record, desperate to avenge their championship loss to the Bulls from 1997. Thanks to Karl Malone's dominant 39 points and 9 rebounds, along with 5 assists in Game 5, the Jazz sent the series back to Utah for a massive Game 6 and, if needed, a Game 7 in Salt Lake City. Pressure was mounting fast as Scottie Pippen battled a severely ailing back. He managed just 6 points on a brutal 2 of 16 shooting in that Game 5 loss. By Game 6 in Utah, Pippen could only give them 8 points in 25 minutes as his back kept locking up, with it looking more and more likely that Pippen would be severely limited in a Game 7 if he could even play. All the pressure fell on Jordan to carry the load and close it out, especially with Utah leading by 5 heading into the 4th. But Jordan refused to let them lose, scoring 16 of his game-high 45 points in that final quarter. Yet, with only 41 seconds left, the Bulls trailed by 3 after a clutch John Stockton three-pointer. Cross-court, Stockton, a 3. It is there. Jordan marched right back down the floor, driving hard to the cup to cut the deficit to 1. With 18 seconds left on the clock, Michael Jordan flashed his defensive genius at the other end of the court. He snuck up from the blind side, stripped Karl Malone, and gave Chicago one final shot at the title. Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead. Then, with just 5 seconds left, Jordan sank that iconic 17-foot jumper, freezing that image in basketball history forever. But the drama was far from over. The self-proclaimed king and his circle of media enablers were drooling over LeBron's 40-point performance in Game 4 against the Denver Nuggets. The chosen one poured in 37 points through 3 quarters, only to completely fall apart with a pathetic 3 points in the 4th, shooting a miserable 1 for 6. But after Nikola Jokic hit a tough shot to put the Nuggets up by 2 with 51 seconds remaining, it was finally the King's turn to make something happen. Over his long career, he has relied on plenty of teammates to bail him out with legendary playoff shots, hitting those clutch, career-defining buckets. LeBron refused to be denied this time. Drawing up a play with under 30 seconds left, he stepped back and drilled the side of the backboard, an instantly hilarious highlight that belongs in the Hall of Fame of epic playoff bricks. But the King was not done yet. With only 4 seconds on the clock and the Lakers down by 2, he drove to the rim. And predictably, for the second time in less than 50 seconds, his shot did not even graze the rim. We still do not know if the NBA's biggest drama king is genuinely considering retirement this offseason, or if this is just another cheap, desperate play to keep the media spotlight locked entirely on him. But if he really does step away from the game, this embarrassing final moment serves as the ultimate contrast to that legend in Chicago he could never catch. Look, if there is one thing LeBron and his army of defenders are famous for, it is their endless catalog of excuses. From those wild Delonte West rumors to his fake broken hand, sudden muscle cramps, and the classic claim that he never had enough help. Let us walk down memory lane and look at his top excuses. This is the ultimate excuse. Failure should be the great motivator. Nothing legendary is built without it. Sports history is packed with incredible stories of athletes showing pure perseverance. Icons who stared directly into the face of defeat and resolved to turn those heartbreaking losses into historic triumphs. Every single legend shoulders the blame for losing, except for one self-proclaimed chosen one, LeBron James. This is a guy who is the undisputed GOAT of making excuses, but he is so incredibly protected that a delusional fan base constantly parrots these claims on his behalf. To all the critics, let us be real, the guy is 38 years old. As Stephen A. pointed out, he was not playing at 100%. Seriously, the guy needs surgery. But with all his recent hints about walking away, we have a lot to think about. Is it actually possible we have witnessed his final cast, his final cramp, and his final excuse? These excuses started early in his career. Back in 2007, during just his fourth season and his first trip to the NBA Finals, we witnessed the birth of his most famous cop-out, the claim that he simply did not have enough help, as if a lack of help excuses a self-proclaimed GOAT from averaging just 22 points on 35% shooting while getting swept in 4 games. Somehow, this terrible playoff showing is actually praised more often than not, framing it as proof of his greatness, claiming he single-handedly carried a mediocre team all the way to the finals. But let us look at the facts. James reached the conference finals without beating a single team with a winning record. Both the Wizards and the Nets, his first and second round opponents, finished the year at a mediocre 41-41. Once they reached the conference finals, the 50-win Cavaliers faced a 53-win Detroit Pistons squad that had lost Ben Wallace, their key defensive anchor, and lacked a single player averaging over 20 points per game that year. What a brutally tough path to the finals. But LeBron and his media partners were only warming up with the excuse game. They took things to a whole new level after his baffling collapse in the 2010 playoffs. LeBron stormed into a second-round series against the fourth-seeded Boston Celtics. At the time, the Cavaliers had the best record in the entire NBA. LeBron was the reigning MVP, and everything was going perfectly to plan for Cleveland through the first 3 games, with the Cavaliers taking a 2-1 series lead. Through those first 3 matchups, MVP LeBron averaged 32 points on 54% shooting, boasting a plus-minus of +21. But everything changed between Game 3 and Game 4. LeBron's scoring and efficiency completely fell off a cliff. Through Games 4, 5, and 6, James averaged just 21 points on 34% shooting, while registering a dismal -37 plus-minus. Cleveland went from holding a 2-1 lead to dropping every single game the rest of the way. On the surface, this looked like just another high-stakes choke job in LeBron's career. But another excuse quickly started making the rounds after his bizarre collapse, and it absolutely exploded into a viral sensation. People whispered that LeBron's mother, Gloria James, was getting close with his Cavs teammate Dante West. Seriously, only the undisputed GOAT of excuses could benefit from a rumor like that. A few weeks later, LeBron would naturally take his talents down to Miami. He announced he was taking his talents to South Beach, where he practically guaranteed 7 titles for the Heat. Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. Yeah, that never happened, but somehow it wasn't his fault. To start, let's pull out the ultimate excuse from his arsenal: he simply didn't have enough help. Never mind that he played with 2 future Hall of Famers, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, aged 32 and 29. Oh, and don't forget it was pretty hot in that Spurs arena. After getting carried off the floor with leg cramps, LeBron packed up and headed right back to Cleveland. He won his only championship there with a massive super team backing him up. But the second the playing field got leveled, LeBron, all of a sudden, wait for it, didn't have enough help. Sure, nobody in league history could have beaten the 2017 Durant and Curry super team. That is, despite Kyrie Irving averaging 29 points per game, outscoring and outshooting Steph Curry at every single level from the field and the three-point line to the free throw line. Oh, and the trio of Irving, Kevin Love, and J.R. Smith outscored and outshot Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. But yeah, totally unwinnable series, right? That next season was his final one in Cleveland. Naturally, he lost in the finals again. But this time, it was not just a lack of help. Apparently, LeBron also played the final 3 games with a broken hand, or so the story goes. Oddly, he never mentioned it once while the series was still going on. He was never listed on any injury report and never showed a hint of pain or discomfort on the floor during games 2, 3, and 4. He was even seen high-fiving kids on his way out after getting swept in Game 4. Yet, within 30 minutes of using that same exact hand, LeBron walked up to the post-game podium wearing a soft cast where he would reveal to the entire media room that he had basically played those last 3 games with a broken hand. Naturally, since he didn't have enough help in Cleveland anymore, he had to jump ship to another franchise to find the perfect setup for some easy rings, which he eventually got with Anthony Davis in the Disney bubble. And for a minute, things were looking pretty good this season too, as Los Angeles reached the Western Conference Finals thanks to Anthony Davis and huge performances from their key role players. In fact, the Lakers kept things close in the final minutes of all 4 games, but LeBron completely choked when the pressure reached its peak down the stretch of that series. He shot an ugly 7 for 23 in fourth quarters. But wait, it wasn't his fault, and right after the game, rumors dropped that he had been playing through a foot injury that might need off-season surgery. Now, we will see if his hints about retirement are actually real or just more drama. But you can count on one thing: if he suited up again in an NBA arena next season, he will likely keep doing what he does best: fall short. Don't worry though, because he has got endless excuses lined up in his bottomless bag. While those excuses dominate his off-court reputation, there is one visual signature that defines his play style on the court. We are talking about the dramatic flop. Check out this footage showcasing one of his most infamous theater-level performances. Look at this ridiculous flop. In sports history, we usually grow up idolizing and studying the absolute legends of the game, not just for their raw talent to amaze us, but because they deliver those unforgettable, career-defining highlights. Most of the absolute best players in history are instantly associated with one single signature move. Think of Jordan flying through the air or Kobe hitting those impossible shots. Kareem had his unblockable skyhook, but LeBron James became a master of deception, holding an unmatched power to bend referees to his will, elevating the art of the flop to entirely new heights. Yet, in the wake of his latest postseason disaster, a brutal four-game sweep by the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals left LeBron hinting that his basketball journey might finally be over. Saying he had a lot to think about, the speculation exploded after a cryptic Instagram post. Was this really the end? The final ride for a legend, marred by one last flaw. For years, LeBron has stunned fans with his uncanny ability to make standard routine contact look like a brutal, flagrant foul. Throughout his career, James has perfected this sell job so thoroughly that defenders do not even have to touch him to send him flying across the hardwood. His flops are legendary, but his true masterpiece is pulling strings behind the scenes. He manipulates referees and league officials like some kind of basketball puppet master. Like any of the all-time greats, this talent did not come naturally. He spent years honing this dark art behind closed doors, logging the invisible reps when nobody was watching. Just like the other legendary icons he is measured against, LeBron always raises his game in the postseason, unleashing his most controversial talents right when the championship pressure is dialed all the way up. But the absolute peak of this strategy came in the 2016 finals, with James operating at the height of his powers. Down 3-1 against the Warriors, it was clear Cleveland could not win under normal circumstances. The Cavs had not just dropped 3 of the first 4 games, they had been absolutely blown out, losing Game 1 by 15 points, Game 2 by 33, and Game 4 by 11. But during the final minutes of that Game 4 defeat, LeBron decided to take matters into his own hands, exploiting his power to manipulate the narrative and swing the momentum back to Cleveland. After years of sharpening this weapon for a moment like this, LeBron seized his chance, tangling with Draymond Green and flailing wildly before throwing him down, and then stepping right over him groin first. Incredible tactical move. On the court, the play seemed relatively harmless. No technicals or flagrant fouls were called by the refs during the game or even after review. Yet, the league office stepped in afterward to hit Draymond with a retroactive flagrant foul, suspending him for Game 5, which the Cavs went on to win, shifting the entire series and fueling Cleveland to take Games 6 and 7 to pull off the legendary comeback and win the title. That one sequence right there made him the greatest of all time. Critics have taken plenty of cheap shots at his physical decline at age 38, but he still showed flashes during that Denver series of the same brilliant manipulation we have seen his entire career. Just look at this flawless execution and commitment to the craft. He did not just flail and hit the floor, he sold the contact all the way into the sideline. Talk about flawless form. So, while analysts demand he retire, and LeBron himself feeds into the drama, using it as a massive PR stunt to grab the spotlight back, the King clearly has plenty left in the tank. He will definitely be back on the court next season, treating us to his signature and most infamous weapon. Back when this next footage was filmed in 2023, I thought he built his final super team. Obviously, I was dead wrong, since the Super Team King just constructed another squad with the 76ers in Philadelphia. We will definitely have to update this down the road. But for now, let us look back at his unfinished business with his last super team. Winning is the ultimate goal in basketball, the only real destination that matters. Basketball immortality is the grand prize for reaching the very top of the mountain. Over the years, championship contenders have been built through the draft, homegrown development, and major free agency signings, but sometimes they are built on backdoor deals, pure desperation, and outright pleading. Now that LeBron is hinting his career could be over after his latest postseason collapse, we are left wondering what comes next. Did we just witness his final star-studded team-up, his last desperate cry for help, the last true super team? LeBron James started stacking up media-voted regular season accolades early, grabbing consecutive league MVP awards during the 2009 and 2010 seasons when he was only 24 years old. Alongside those MVP trophies, the Cleveland Cavaliers dominated the league, racking up 66 and 61 wins in back-to-back seasons. Yet, despite all the regular season dominance and individual hardware, that self-proclaimed chosen one couldn't reach the NBA Finals, falling short against the Orlando Magic in 2009 and the Boston Celtics in 2010. Then he watched Kobe Bryant beat both of those squads to win championships with just one fringe all-star beside him. A harsh reality set in, seemingly accepting that he couldn't win a title under the tough conditions other all-time greats faced. LeBron made the decision to take his talents to South Beach, joining forces with another top-3 superstar in Dwyane Wade and perennial Eastern Conference All-Star Chris Bosh. Wade was a first-team All-NBA guard who had finished top 5 in MVP voting the previous 2 seasons. As for Bosh, he was averaging 20 points and 9 rebounds for his career while riding a streak of 5 straight All-Star selections. The Miami Super Team was so loaded that the ringless king famously guaranteed they would win at least 8 championships. Not 5, not 6, not 7. But after getting absolutely destroyed in 2 of their 4 finals appearances, LeBron packed his bags, left South Beach, and returned home to Cleveland. He felt a strong responsibility to bring a championship back to Northeast Ohio. Or he was salivating at the prospect of playing alongside a rising 21-year-old phenom named Kyrie Irving. Irving already had 2 All-Star nods under his belt, averaging 21 points over his first 3 NBA seasons, along with 6 assists and 4 rebounds. But using top pick Andrew Wiggins, who was the #1 overall draft pick that transformed a standard star pairing into a loaded super team, Cleveland flipped him for 25-year-old Kevin Love, an elite forward entering his 6th year. Love was a 3-time All-Star with career marks of 19 points and 12 boards per game. He had just finished a historic year, becoming the first player in modern NBA history to average 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists in a single season. Love also ranked in the top 3 for several Liddy God assists. Advanced metrics like value over replacement player, trailing only league MVP Kevin Durant in box plus-minus. This loaded powerhouse roster completely steamrolled through an incredibly weak Eastern Conference. They absolutely dominated, going 36-5 against East rivals during the 2015, 16, and 17 playoffs. Still, LeBron lost 3 of his 4 finals appearances in Cleveland because Golden State had the nerve to build an even bigger super team out west. James suffered another sweep in the 2018 finals, getting completely brushed aside, sending him packing straight to LA. That's where he engineered his 3rd super team for the 2021-22 campaign, resulting in one of the biggest failures in pro sports history. But if you ask LeBron, he insists it wasn't a failure. He claims it's not like they had 5 future Hall of Famers and entered the season as heavy favorites to win the West. They didn't even make the playoffs. Instead, they completely missed the play-in tournament and finished almost 20 games under 500. Not a failure, right? It is hard to believe LeBron only managed 4 titles in 20 years with so little help. And after a sweep where the Lakers lost tight, single-possession battles in the 4th quarter against the champion Denver Nuggets, people claim LeBron still needs more help. But reuniting with Kyrie Irving is a very real possibility. We still don't know if LeBron will actually end up suiting up next season or call it quits. But you can bet he will be out there recruiting. When asked who he wants, he immediately named Steph Curry. If he finally decides to retire, maybe we will have seen the very last of the super team era. Now let's look at the latest entry in this series. This went down just a few months ago during the playoffs, when LeBron famously got swept right out of the postseason yet again. This is the final sweep, and LeBron James actually let it happen. He has been swept more times than almost any other Hall of Famer in NBA history. Everyone, that is, except for a couple of guys. Kobe Bryant carried to those rings Shaquille O'Neal and Pelot, who both got swept 6 times. But now, after another 4-0 dusting out of the postseason, this time delivered by the Oklahoma City Thunder in what is his 23rd NBA season, the Sweep King has done it 4 times. But that only tells half the story. Because once you add the times His Highness suffered a gentlemanly 5-game exit, those numbers climb to a truly iconic status. It all started back in the 2007 NBA Finals during that legendary run by LeBron James, dragging a roster of scrubs through an Eastern Conference gauntlet with only one single opponent over 500. But in the finals against the Spurs, LeBron's 3rd-ranked defense actually held the San Antonio offense to just 86.5 points per game. But even with multiple clean looks in clutch moments during that series, LeBron averaged just 22 points on 35% shooting while coughing up 23 turnovers more than every other player on the Cavaliers roster combined. Put a tally mark next to that first postseason sweep. Next, LeBron took his talents to South Beach to partner up with the other top star in a weak Eastern Conference, while recruiting another top 15 player from that same side of the league. That was when James famously guaranteed his stacked super team would win 8 NBA titles. Not 5, not 6, not 7. Yeah, that never happened. In fact, the end of James's run in Miami saw his team totally run out of gas, getting utterly dismantled by the San Antonio Spurs in a 5-game gentlemanly sweep. That went down in the 2014 NBA Finals. Hilariously, the Heat's only pity victory in that series was by a mere 2 points, while their 4 losses were each by at least 15 points, averaging an 18-point deficit per game. We will get back to those blowout margins later. That makes 2 for the Sweep King, but we are only getting warmed up. Next, we arrive at the 2017 NBA Finals with LeBron in his second stint in Cleveland playing on yet another stacked super team. Unfortunately for him, Kevin Durant had assembled an even stronger super team this time around. The Golden State Warriors bounced LeBron and company in 5 quick games. Mark that down as number 3 on the sweep counter. Number 3. We do not have to look far for the next one, just the very next final series against those same Warriors. This time in the 2018 Finals. Remember the reports that LeBron played the final 3 games with a broken hand, even though he showed 0 physical signs of injury until after he was swept out, conveniently showing up to the post-game press conference wearing a cast. Now things are rolling that makes 4 on the sweep meter. After that beating, LeBron decided he needed a serious change of scenery. So, after dominating a weak Eastern Conference for 15 years, he packed his bags for the brutal Western Conference. Big mistake, LeBron, because that sweep counter, which took 15 years to reach 4, is about to explode over the next few seasons, starting with the 2023 Western Conference Finals, where Anthony Davis averaged 27 points and 14 rebounds while shooting 50% from the floor, and Austin Reeves chipped in 21 points per game on 55% shooting as the third option, despite holding late leads in 3 of the 4 games. But Nikola Jokic and his Denver Nuggets gave them nothing, taking absolutely everything instead. Gave them nothing, but took absolutely everything. Go ahead and add a 5th mark to LeBron's career tally as we roll into the very next year. You do not even have to look deep into the postseason. Right in the first round of the 2024 playoffs, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray booted LeBron and AD from the bracket once again, this time in gentlemanly fashion, 4-1. And this was despite AD putting up 28 points and 16 boards on 64% shooting, with the Lakers leading for nearly 70% of the series. Yet, they still could not stop this matchup from becoming the 6th entry on his long list of postseason sweeps. Now, fast forward just 1 year to the 2025 first round against the Minnesota Timberwolves. This time around, they had Luka Doncic dropping 30 a night to back up LeBron, only to get gentlemen swept yet again, walking away with just 1 solitary win in the postseason. That was the 7th time LeBron got bounced in 5 games or less, which finally brings us to this matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder, where the Lakers did not just get swept, they were absolutely eviscerated by a brutal 16-point average margin. That is just 2 points shy of that 2014 Finals series, the previous all-time NBA record. That marks another time LeBron has been sent packing to Cancun in 5 games or less. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. In his 23-year NBA career, LeBron has made 19 postseason appearances. He has won the NBA championship 4 times, meaning he has failed to win the final series 15 times. Of those 15 eliminations, 8 of them, more than half, were about as uncompetitive as it gets. Now, as this Los Angeles Lakers season officially comes to an end, LeBron James's future is up in the air. Will he retire or return to LA? Or will he decide to take his talents to another city to chase history only to add yet another painful chapter to his growing book of playoff failures? Next up, let us talk about the ultimate GOAT debate between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Who really owns that title? Where do they actually rank? Let us dive into what some call the most pathetic debate in sports history, Jordan versus LeBron. I tackled those exact topics in a video posted 3 years ago. To this day, it remains the most watched video on my entire channel. I hope you enjoy this. Since the very beginning of modern sports, certain debates have raged on without any clear resolution. They are conversations that ultimately boil down to simple personal preference and perspective. But in very rare moments, an elite force rises up, completely distances themselves from the field, and shuts down every single debate. And on June 14th, 1998, when Michael Jordan hit that iconic shot over Brian Russell to clinch his 6th and final ring with the Chicago Bulls, he closed the case on who is the basketball GOAT. Now, Jordan was not the most decorated winner in basketball history, and he might not have been the most statistically dominant player individual-wise, and even if his career total stats do not match guys who played way longer, Jordan still represents the ultimate total package in the history of the game. And while other legendary players have managed to climb somewhat close to his level since he walked away from the court, absolutely nobody has been able to surpass him. Yet, for some utterly bizarre reason that nobody can quite explain, mainstream sports media keeps shoving these LeBron James debates right down our throats. What is even more pathetic is that a certain crowd of fans and media actually believe LeBron has somehow jumped ahead of Jordan. Kobe Bryant couldn't fill Michael Jordan's shoes, nor can LeBron. Honestly, the only single thing LeBron James has ever done better than Michael Jordan is play longer, and it is not just the sheer length of his career, but the specific era he played in. LeBron jumped straight from high school to the NBA, starting to stack those massive career totals at just 18 years old. Jordan, meanwhile, spent 3 years playing in college, not entering the NBA until he was 21. Jordan then famously retired at only 30 years old to try his hand at professional baseball, stepping away for almost 2 full years. He sat out the entire 93-94 season, only returning to the NBA with 17 games left in the 1994-95 campaign. This meant Jordan sat out the vast majority of his prime 30 and 31-year-old seasons. Do not forget, he also broke his foot right at the start of his second year, missing all but 18 games of that season too. Michael Jordan would then, on January 13th, 1999, announce his second retirement at 35. That break lasted 3 full years before he returned to play for the Washington Wizards at 38, a move that was mostly a marketing stunt for the team he owned. So as you can see, it is not an apples-to-apples comparison with the modern-day self-proclaimed GOAT. That one ring right there made me the greatest to ever do it. LeBron has spent the bulk of his 20-plus year career ring-chasing and squeezing every bit of statistical value out of his longevity. James has played 1,421 regular season games, compared to Jordan's 172. When it comes to the postseason, James has logged 282 games versus Jordan's 179. That is over 100 extra playoff games for LeBron. In total, James has played 452 more career games than Jordan, logging far more minutes on the hardwood as a result. Over 17,000 more. So, with all that extra mileage LeBron has logged compared to Michael Jordan, he must have way more hardware, right? Well, not exactly. Over a 20-year career, LeBron James has only won a single scoring title, and that was way back in the 2007-2008 season when he was just 23 and in his 5th year. He also topped the league in assists just once, during that weird COVID-shortened 2019-2020 season. Those are the only 2 times LeBron ever led the NBA in a basic stat category, while Michael Jordan won an unreal 10 scoring titles. And he did it in 10 straight seasons, starting in his 3rd year and stretching all the way to age 35. Right before his second retirement. To put that in perspective, Wilt Chamberlain is second all-time with 7 scoring crowns, and no other player in history has more than 4. Jordan also led the league in steals 3 times, giving him 13 total box score titles, compared to just 2 for the self-proclaimed king. But as we are constantly reminded by the mainstream sports media, LeBron has always been framed as the advanced analytics guy. Since he could not truly pull ahead using traditional stats, a whole analytics movement was basically invented to manufacture a narrative of dominance for him and players like him, these so-called efficient players. It is a system designed to downplay real winners and manufacture greatness for guys who just cannot get it done. Surely LeBron dominates these modern categories filled with made-up acronyms like box, plus, minus, and player efficiency rating. Well, actually, no. Even with all those extra seasons, LeBron only tied Jordan by leading the league in value over replacement player 9 times. Meanwhile, Jordan takes the edge in box plus minus, leading the league 9 times compared to LeBron's 7. In win shares, it is 9-5 against LeBron, and in player efficiency rating, Jordan leads 7-6. Overall, LeBron topped the league 45 times in these advanced categories over his entire career, compared to Jordan's 69 advanced titles. Honestly, this is starting to get embarrassing. But LeBron, the ultimate media darling crowned the chosen one at just 17 while still in high school, must have more voted awards than his airness, right? Wrong again. LeBron has only won 4 league MVPs compared to Jordan's 5. And remember, LeBron has played 452 more games and 17,000 more minutes than Jordan. Just keeping track here. Jordan also took home a Defensive Player of the Year award in the exact same season he won scoring champion and league MVP. Does LeBron have a Defensive Player of the Year trophy? But what about the only metric that actually counts? Winning. Jordan takes that crown too, with 6 championship rings compared to LeBron's 4. And that is despite LeBron playing in over 100 more playoff games. But maybe LeBron faced tougher competition? Actually, no. In the postseason, LeBron James has played in 53 playoff series compared to Jordan's 37. In those series, LeBron faced 28 total opponents who either won a minimum of 50 games or had a winning percentage that would scale to 50 wins in a standard 82-game year. That is 28 out of his 53 playoff matchups. Jordan, on the other hand, faced 27 50-win opponents in just 37 total series. That means LeBron played a 50-win team 53% of the time, while Jordan ran into a 50 or 60-win squad 73% of the time. Jordan was also far more successful against those elite opponents than LeBron, with LeBron putting up a 16-12 record against 50, 60, and 70-win teams that is a 57% winning rate. Meanwhile, Jordan went 20-7 against them, which is a massive 74% win rate. But surely Jordan had a much better supporting cast, right? Not so fast. Over his 20-year run, LeBron has shared the court with 7 teammates who made a total of 15 All-Star appearances while playing next to him. Compare that to MJ, who played alongside exactly one other All-Star in his entire Chicago career. The only other player on a Michael Jordan-led team to ever make an All-Star squad was Scottie Pippen, and he only did it 6 times. So Jordan faced stiffer competition with a less loaded supporting cast while playing far less time. Yet he still won more while maintaining a higher level of dominance in both basic and advanced metrics. And yet, these arguments keep coming from teenagers on Twitter who have absolutely no understanding, no real appreciation, or context for anything before their time. To them, whatever they see right now must be the best ever. They are constantly egged on by narrative-driven talking heads across mass media. All because LeBron has higher career totals than Michael Jordan. By that logic, Frank Gore ranks ahead of Barry Sanders, and David Ortiz is better than Mickey Mantle just on home runs. And that Joe Flacco somehow ranks ahead of Joe Montana. Just piling up stats over a long career is a tiny part of measuring true, all-time greatness. You can actually make a fair case against Jordan as the greatest, but those arguments will never feature the wildly, deeply overrated LeBron James. Now, this next segment is an absolute personal favorite of mine. It might actually be the single best piece of content I have ever put together. It is my second most watched video ever. I call it A Coward's Way, a complete history of the single decision that ruined the NBA. I hope you guys enjoy watching this as much as I loved making it. We have seen plenty of dominant dynasties rule the league throughout basketball history, stretching all the way back to the 1950s and running through almost every single decade right up to the modern era. Over those years, franchises built their rosters organically through the draft, developing homegrown talent or making smart moves in free agency. But that classic way of building a roster ended on July 8, 2010. After weeks of intense rumors, LeBron James sat down at a Boys and Girls Club in Greenwich, Connecticut for a 75-minute special. Yeah, you heard that right. That painful, cringy broadcast hosted by Jim Gray dragged on for 75 minutes. Almost 30 minutes in, at 9:28 p.m., Eastern Standard Time, LeBron lit a match that would burn the entire league to the ground. He said he was going to take his talents to South Beach, setting the stage for the decade that followed. It was 10 years of player empowerment, massive trades, and backroom collusion, along with built-from-scratch super teams that totally destroyed the competitive balance of the whole sport. Now, a great team is not the same thing as a super team. We have seen plenty of truly legendary teams throughout NBA history. In fact, the oldest example created the most dominant dynasty ever. The 1960s Boston Celtics grabbed 11 of 13 championships, loaded with Hall of Fame legends like Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, Tom Heinsohn, Sam Jones, and Casey Jones. Make no mistake about it, that Celtics squad was incredibly stacked, but Boston drafted every single one of those guys. They built and grew that team completely organically. The 1970s also delivered a roster so incredibly talented, they are still considered one of the greatest teams ever assembled. The 1972 Lakers, who won a record 69 games. That legendary record stood for over 2 decades until the 95-96 Bulls won 72. That roster paired elite Hall of Famers like Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, and Wilt Chamberlain. Just like the Celtics dynasty before them, this squad was built on draft picks. Both Elgin Baylor and Jerry West were drafted by Los Angeles and spent their entire careers there. And yes, they did trade for Wilt, but Chamberlain was already 32 and near the end of his career, averaging just 17 points per game over his 5 seasons with Los Angeles. That was a massive drop from the 36 points a night he averaged during his first decade in the league. He also joined a Lakers franchise that kept falling short on the biggest stage, losing 8 straight finals appearances. The group that finally got over the hump in 1972 was a veteran squad full of guys late in their careers. It was a far cry from the colluding superstars teaming up in their absolute primes that we see today. The 1980s brought us two legendary stacked teams in the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. The heart of Boston was a three-headed front-court monster featuring Hall of Famers Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish. Both Larry Bird and Kevin McHale were drafted by Boston, spending their entire careers in green and white. Now, Robert Parrish did sign in 1980 after playing 4 seasons with Golden State, but he joined Larry Bird, who was only in his second year, and Kevin McHale, who was just a rookie. This team was dominant. They were a dynasty, but they were not a super team. Their main rivals back then were the powerhouse Los Angeles Lakers. They had a ridiculous roster, featuring arguably 2 of the top 5 players ever in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson. And remember, Kareem wasn't drafted by LA. He was actually drafted by small market Milwaukee, where he became arguably the most dominant player in the entire league. He even won multiple MVP awards with the Bucks before deciding to jump ship to Los Angeles in his late 20s. Does that sound familiar to anyone? But keep in mind, Kareem didn't team up with a prime Magic Johnson. Magic wasn't racking up all NBA first-team selections back when Kareem supposedly forced his way out to recruit other superstars to California. Kareem actually joined a 1975 Lakers team that went 30-52. In that 1975-76 season, Kareem won MVP in his very first year in LA, while Magic Johnson was still playing high school ball. Kareem snatched another MVP trophy the next year, single-handedly carrying the Lakers to the #1 seed in the West, still in high school. Then in 1979, 4 years after Kareem arrived, Los Angeles drafted Magic. By 1982-83, they drafted the third piece of their legendary trio, James Worthy, who spent his entire career in purple and gold. That was light years away from the shameless ring-chasing and team-building we'd witnessed decades later. And then, in the early 90s, Michael Jordan emerged as the ultimate force. He was a pure force of nature, winning 6 straight championships in every full season he played during that decade. But make no mistake, those Bulls rosters were far from super teams. During their first three-peat from 91 to 93, they only had 2 All-Stars, and Chicago drafted both Jordan and Pippen. After a brief stint playing baseball, Jordan returned to the league to secure 3 more rings. They did add Dennis Rodman, who eventually went on to make the Hall of Fame, which leads some people to wrongly label this squad a super team. But let's be real, Chicago drafted both Jordan and Pippen. More importantly, Dennis Rodman was already 34 years old when he arrived in Chicago. He never made an all-star team with the Bulls and averaged a measly 5 points per game during his entire 3-year run there. So despite how badly some revisionist fans want to call this a manufactured super team, they're dead wrong. The 2000s then brought the rise of 2 legendary dynasties, or rather, 2 iconic players, as Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan combined for 10 championships, winning 5 each over a 15-year stretch from 1999 to 2014, staying with one franchise their entire careers. But despite their loyalty, both Bryant and Duncan won titles with completely different supporting casts over the years. Tim Duncan secured his championships playing alongside a rotating cast of 4 different future Hall of Famers across his legendary 19-year career, starting with David Robinson, plus Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and Kawhi Leonard. Every single one of those guys was drafted by the Spurs, just like Duncan. Kobe Bryant, on the other hand, won 5 championships while playing with only 1 Hall of Fame teammate at a time across 2 distinct eras in Los Angeles. First up, Shaquille O'Neal. They dominated the league like almost no other duo, becoming just the 3rd team ever to three-peat, and they did it with only 2 All-Stars. And after years of Kobe carrying some of the worst supporting casts in the league, the Lakers finally traded for Pau Gasol, who was in his 7th season with the Memphis Grizzlies. Up to that point, Gasol had made exactly 1 All-Star game. The moment that trade went down, Kobe led the Lakers to 3 straight finals appearances, capturing back-to-back championships right alongside Pau Gasol, who was the only other All-Star and future Hall of Famer on those championship rosters. But something else shifted in the summer of 2007, right before the Lakers landed Pau Gasol. The Boston Celtics pulled off massive trades for Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, pairing them with Paul Pierce to form the original Big Three, a move widely credited with starting the modern super team era. But if you look closely at the actual context, it reveals a completely different story. All 3 stars were already in their 30s when they joined forces, and each had played at least 10 seasons in the league. Look at the 2 seasons before the Big Three united in Boston. Not one of those guys made an All-NBA first or second team. None of those three players finished anywhere close to the top 5 in league MVP voting. Truth is, none of them were even considered elite at that stage in their careers. And while that superstar team-up did capture one championship, they fell in the postseason the next 2 years. Meanwhile, that guy in Los Angeles with just one fringe all-star went on to win back-to-back titles. As Kobe Bryant ruled the league, the analytics-obsessed losers, the media, kept handing LeBron James back-to-back league MVPs, while his Cavaliers, despite holding the best record in basketball, flamed out of the playoffs 2 years in a row. After 7 long years of coming up empty-handed in Cleveland, and driven by pure desperation, realizing he could never win the hard way like almost every other all-time great, LeBron panicked. He reached out to his close friend in Miami, and the two of them secretly schemed behind their franchises' backs, recruiting 5-time straight all-star Chris Bosh to join forces in South Beach. On July 8th, LeBron walked onto that stage at the Boys and Girls Club in Connecticut. Just 1 day later, these three rose up out of the stage floor together amidst a wild pyrotechnics show, officially kickstarting the modern super team era. All three of these stars were right in the absolute peak of their prime, unlike the older Boston trio. These guys were all in their mid to late 20s, entering their 8th seasons. It was pathetic and humiliating for their legacies, but history and NBA precedent be damned. LeBron wanted some easy rings. In the 2 seasons before this unholy alliance was formed, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade were both first-team All-NBA, and both finished top 5 in MVP voting both years. Wade, remember, was only a few years removed from winning a championship and Finals MVP. These were the 2 best players in the Eastern Conference and 2 of the top 3 in the entire league, choosing to join forces. It was completely unprecedented. But that still wasn't enough. Chris Bosh, who was averaging 20 points and 10 rebounds a game at the time, and had made 5 consecutive All-Star appearances plus an All-NBA second team in 2007, joined them. And though this squad somehow failed to win the title in 2 of their 4 seasons together, Miami still managed to take home 2 championships. But as soon as that roster started showing signs of age, rather than sticking it out in Miami, LeBron decided to jump ship back to Cleveland. Don't buy the narrative it wasn't about some loyalty to the hometown franchise he had stabbed in the back 4 years earlier. No. It was to team up with 2011 top overall draft pick, Kyrie Irving, who averaged 21 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds a game while making 2 All-Star teams in his first 3 seasons. Then, Cleveland flipped their brand new #1 overall draft pick, Andrew Wiggins, to land Kevin Love, a clear top 10 player in the league at the time. At just 25 years of age, Love was entering his 6th season, having already been named an All-Star 3 times, and had just become the first player in post-merger modern history to average 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists in a single season. The season right before he joined LeBron's second super team, Love also ranked top 3 in advanced metrics like value over replacement player and finished second in box plus-minus behind only league MVP Kevin Durant. He earned second-team All-NBA honors in 2 of his final 3 years in Minnesota before joining the super team. This roster was so incredibly stacked that when they were fully healthy, they took down a 73-9 Golden State Warriors team with the greatest regular season record ever. But don't worry, seeing this monster squad, the Warriors felt completely justified in building their own. Kevin Durant, much like LeBron years before, was a generational talent who just couldn't win a title on his own. And if LeBron did it, why not him? On July 7th, 2016, 5 years and 364 days after that fateful night in Greenwich, Connecticut Kevin Durant officially signed with the Golden State Warriors. The super team era was in full swing now. You get a super team, and you get a super team. Ultimately, Cleveland and Golden State clashed in 4 straight NBA Finals during the decade spanning 2010 to 2020. Even if they weren't all super teams, we saw an absolute avalanche of player movement and superstar team-ups. It went from Paul George and Kawhi Leonard orchestrating their quiet escape to the Clippers, all the way to James Harden, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant joining forces in Brooklyn, and LeBron James partnering with his clutch sports brother Anthony Davis to force his way to the Lakers. The 2010s was easily the most frustrating and non-competitive decade in the history of the sport. Yet modern revisionists and teenagers with zero real understanding or grasp of basketball history love to lecture everyone about how competitive this era was, which is honestly as hilarious as it is clueless. It's still unclear where the league goes from here, but the future of competitive balance looks bright as we finally transition away from the dreaded super team era. But there's absolutely no denying that what we witnessed in the 2010s, kicked off by LeBron's decision, was something we'd never seen before, and hopefully never will again. Well, guys, that's all I've got for now. Huge thank you to everyone for helping me hit my first major milestone of 100,000 subscribers. Now, it's time to chase the next one. So, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button to help push me toward 1 million. And I'm going to leave you with this. Honestly, it's one of the absolute best videos I've ever put together and a personal favorite. It's part 1 of my face-to-face debate with Gilbert Arenas. You can watch the whole thing by clicking this link right here.